All right, how's everybody this morning? Well enough? Okay. Well, we had a few things to look at in Canvas. What I'm going to do this morning, we're going to start off by, I want you all to break up into groups of 2 to 3. And I want you to spend about 5 minutes talking about, with one another, about concentration and focus, those assignments that you had. I want you to discuss with each other what things get in the way of your focus and what you try to do to refocus. It's going to be a very important topic as you approach final exams. You're going to have a very short period of time in which to prepare for an awful lot of seat time. So break up into groups of 2, no more than 3, and spend about 5 minutes taking notes in your notebook about ideas, things that you struggle with, and focus, and we'll come back and we'll have a more of a group discussion. So go ahead and break up into your groups, please.
Well, that's just on my screen though.
About 1 more minute. All right. What are some of the things that detract from our focus? What were some of the things y'all discussed?
Cellular device.
Cellular devices, absolutely, definitely. Technology in general does, right? Did you all know that you almost have the same brain reaction when you don't have your phone in front of you as an addict does when they don't have a fix? It has that kind of effect on your brain. Technology, our brain wants to be stimulated, right? We have now instant stimulation on our head, in our pocket. We can pull it out. We can have access to all kinds of things on the internet, videos. It's not to say that it's necessarily a bad thing, but it just needs to be controlled, right? Every moment that you pull a phone out in a classroom, you're detracting from what is being discussed at the same time that you're paying large sums of money for that content, right? It's just a fact. What else can detract from our focus? Being around friends, okay. That can certainly detract from our focus, but we can control that one probably easier than we can control our devices. Our friends aren't usually around all the time, but you've got your device with you 99% of the time, I would wager. With wearables today, you may even have them while you're taking a shower, right? The iWatch is water resistant. I don't actually have to take it off if I don't want to. What else? What do you all over here come up with? Multitasking is a skill, but it is a dangerous skill, right? When you multitask, where is multitasking useful? Where might you find multitasking to be kind of useful?
When you have a lot of them working in a short amount of time.
Okay.
Like in different classes, you can take breaks and like do one subject and then go to the other, and then they're not all doing one at a time. Like it's just too much.
Okay. All right. You know, I kind of like to think of the best place for multitasking is in the kitchen when I'm cooking. Right? I'm cooking a 3-course meal. Right? I want to have everything on the plate at the same time so I can sit down and eat. Nobody wants to have their main entree and then go get the salad and then whatever, right? You want to sit down and you want to have your meal. So what do? You multitask to get that thing done. While this is boiling and, you know, while the green beans are cooking, you're over here working on this and that and the other to try to make it to one end, okay? But am I spending do I have to spend a whole lot of time on any one task? Am I really sitting there learning about, you know, my boiling green beans? No, I'm not, right? So it's important that we know where we can use multitasking to our benefit. And there are places in your life as a student where multitasking will make sense. You're probably members of an organization, right? So multitasking to get tasks done for whatever event you've got coming up, that's a great place for multitasking. Where is not a great place for multitasking? Texting and driving. Okay, that's certainly true. right? You want to be focused. And I think there was an example of that on one of the videos, right? When we're in the driver's seat, we tend to have more focus. Where should you be in the driver's seat? Other than literally in the driver's seat. But I mean, in your academic world, where should you be in the driver's seat? In class. You should be driving your learning, right? It is a myth that professors teach you. I can facilitate. I really think of myself more as a facilitator of learning than as a teacher. I don't need to teach you all much. Everything that I know you can find out today more so than when I was in college. But you need a facilitator to help you get there, right? That's my role. So you got to be in the driver's seat for your education part of your learning, right? You need to, especially in this major, well, any of the science majors or STEM majors, let's broaden it out. Focus is more important than it is in many other majors because you have to have a deep understanding of things before you move on to the next. You're in general chemistry right now. I promise you, everything that you're learning in general chemistry will come back to serve you or haunt you, however the case may be, in your other classes. When you take organic, knowing something about Lewis structures is going to be important. Knowing about how to balance chemical equations is going to be important. And you've got to have that deep understanding of those topics. Okay? So how can we help drive our focus in the way that we need to? What can we do? What did y'all come up with that you all can do to increase your focus and minimize your distractions? You can turn off the phone, right? You could turn off the phone. You could set it aside. What did they talk about in the videos, though, about your technology?
So I just thought, like have a distraction sheet and like set aside a certain amount of time you do a subject so you're not like consumed with all the stuff you have to do. You're just like, I just gotta do this for 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Helps you from getting distracted as much because it's a short amount of time.
I have to admit, I've never done a distraction sheet, but I do schedule my time. And I know that when I've scheduled time, I've minimized my distractions. I do have open slots on my calendar every day that I get distracted with. People come into my office, the fire of the day, the thing that just has to be dealt with. But then there are times on my schedule where I'm doing X. And when it's on my schedule, I don't do anything but X. I shut my door. The building better be on fire when people knock, when I do things like that. You had something you wanted to say?
Sitting where you can see the professor, like where you see a direct line.
Yeah, that helps. The problem with that, there's not a problem with that, but the issue with that is there's only so many of those seats in the large auditorium, right? So you may end up being in a seat where that's a little more difficult. You have to be a little more engaged with it. What else can we do? How can we use technology? You have.
Oh, I was just going to say normally if I need to focus, I like put my phone away, go into like a separate room. Because if I don't see it, it's not there.
Okay. Can we use technology to help us focus? Was there anything about using technology that was in any of those videos?
That tree thing, if you don't touch your phone for like 30 minutes, then it grows a tree. If you touch it, then the tree dies.
Yep, you can do something like that. And I hadn't heard of that one. Does anybody know of what app we have at USM that should help you focus at the same time you earn things?
Like pocket
Pocket points. That's exactly right. How many people in here know of Pocket Points? Not too many of you. You can download the app. It's free. It's called Pocket Points, so you can search on the Google Play or the App Store or whatever. You can download the app. And when you are on campus and you have your phone locked, okay, you start earning points. And those points go to like things like, my daughter did this when she was at OU, and I remember going to pick her up one spring to bring her back home, and she took us out to dinner on her pocket points. She earned so many points. It was a free dinner basically for 4 people. Okay, but typically you get things like free slices of pizza, so much off at whatever your favorite restaurant is, things from online places that are free or low cost or discounted. You are actually earning points towards those things. You can think of it as earning money on the things that you're going to need to buy. Okay? So the Pocket Points app is certainly something that you can do. You have to be on campus for it to work. So let's suppose you're wanting to study and you want to focus. You go to the library, you get it, sit down at a cubicle or whatever. Take the Pocket Points app, lock the phone, set it aside. It's going to help you with your focus, and at the same time, you're going to earn free stuff. And every college person loves free stuff, right? Free pizza, free t-shirts, free this, free that. You all go everywhere for something free. Actually, we do too. But it's just kind of part of the college life is to bank on that free stuff. What else can we maybe do? Yeah, to be focused, you have to have enough rest, right? If you're in class asleep, that's not going to be very productive. Doesn't matter to me. I get paid the same up here whether you learn something or not, right? But it should matter to you. This is something that you've chosen to do. You've chosen to come to college. You need to get the most out of it that you can because your future career is going to depend on it to some level. What else can we do? How much sleep would be enough sleep? Pardon? At least 7 hours? Yeah. Some people can get by on 6. I'd say if it's less than 6, you're probably not setting yourself up very well. And it's important. I mean, if you're not getting that amount of sleep, the work that you're doing anyway, you're just getting something maybe halfway done, right? You're not doing your best work. What's the point? If you properly schedule your time and you put things in proper perspective, you should be able to get at least 7 hours of sleep a day. But we typically run into other things that distract us, right? What other things distract us? What are our distractors other than technology and our friends? What other things distract us? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I admit I have trouble being still. I mean, in a room that's completely quiet. My brain it's used to this type of stimulation. But it does detract. I mean, I notice that if I'm in my office and I turn the music on and I'm trying to really do something, it's hard. If I'm doing something that is just rote, that I've done over and over again, yeah, I can listen to some music and I can get that done. I got a stack of papers, I got to approve them all, I know they're all ready to be approved. I can do that while I'm listening to something. But when I get a student paper that comes across my desk that I've got to do, let's say, a course substitution on and I haven't seen it before, do you want me to be focused or distracted? You want me to be focused, right? You want me to make sure that what you're requesting is correct so that you get the credit for it so that you can graduate. You don't want me distracted, right? So at those times I need to be a little more concentrated with my work. What else distracts us? Life in general kind of distracts us, right? What does that mean? Life in general kind of distracts us.
Just thinking about all of this stuff, like while I'm studying, I'm thinking about, I also have this week, and then, but also have to do this week, and it's just, you have so much going on in your life, it's hard to just cut it off and just think of one thing.
Yep, absolutely. And we're all guilty of that, aren't we? We're all busy. We all have things outside of class. This isn't the day when you went to college and you were miles away from home out in the middle of nowhere and there was absolutely nothing to distract you other than nature. It's a different time. You're very mobile. You have access to lots of things. You have family demands that may or may not be fair, but you have them, right? And those things are distractors. You also have work. Many of you have jobs. Job is a big distraction, right? Going to a job to try to make ends meet distracts from the other things that we're trying to accomplish. But if we work with our employers, if we work with our families, we put things in perspective, we put things on a calendar, and we stick to it, we can help minimize those distractions, okay? Now, we're getting ready to enter finals season. It's about a month away, right? How much time have you already scheduled for preparing for finals? Is it on anybody's schedule? Probably most of you, it's either you started thinking about it or it hasn't even begun to cross your mind yet. Right? What will happen the week before finals? Cram. I heard that. Starbucks stock goes up.
All-nighters.
What did you say? I'm sorry. Dead week? What does that mean?
Doesn't that mean all sports stuff that we
There's a lot of activities that come to a stop. That's right. We don't have a real dead week here. There are some universities where dead week is there is nothing. It is expected that you use that as a reading week where you prepare for finals. That is not what dead week means here. Okay? Dead week means that I can't schedule an unexpected assignment for you. I can do it any other time. I can come in and I can say, but I can't schedule an exam for you during dead week, or faculty aren't supposed to if it's not on the syllabus already. Right? So dead week is not truly dead here. Okay? When I went to college, we had a dead day that was truly a dead day. It was the last Friday. The last Friday of the semester. It was a dead day. It was some people call it a reading day. And then our finals started on Saturday. So you had finals starting on Saturday, you had Sunday off, and then you went Monday through Thursday the following week to finish up your finals. So that's how dead day worked for me when I was in college, but we don't even really have that here. It's a little different. Okay? And in part, I think we tried it in the past and we found out that students just didn't do anything. They just went home. So, not much of a point. But you need to schedule some dead time for yourself during that week before finals. Be a very good time for you all to think about working with your bosses at your jobs to see that you have minimal work schedules that week, if possible, right? Be a great time not to plan big outings with your friends, those types of things. Be a great time for you to put on your schedule how you're going to prepare for each of your class exams. How many of you in here are your exams pretty much so cumulative? All of them pretty much so look like they're going to be cumulative?
I have like a couple classes.
Okay.
My World Civ class, the last exam is just
It's just the final?
It's just on another subject.
And there's a lot of classes that are that way, where it's just the last assignment, exam, whatever, is going to be your final. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But there are many classes where your final exam will be cumulative. So how are you going to weigh those two classes? The class where it's the last assignment, the class where it is a cumulative exam. Are you going to weight those the same? No. Your study time should not be equal for those types of two different classes, right? The amount of material that you have to know for that one may be more restricted than for a cumulative exam. Right? Now, it depends. You need to know that last assignment may be half a semester's worth of work. It may be a class where you had a midterm and a final. But in a typical class where you have multiple assignments and that type of thing, chances are you're probably going to spend less time studying for that class than for the others. What else? Nothing else? Nothing else that you gleaned from the videos? How do you prepare your focus? You have to practice your focus, don't you? Just like anything else. I found that kind of interesting. That is a technique that I have not used. I have not used the technique of where I would go into a room and set a timer and focus on a piece of material for a little while. Okay. Many of you will study hard at finals time, and that doesn't matter. What matters is that you study effectively, proactively, in a way that you are going to do your best work on those exams. So keep that in mind. Just because you're spending lots of time at your studies doesn't mean that it's going to be effective for you. Okay? And these tips are going to be useful for you whether you remain a chemistry major after this semester or not. Every discipline requires some level of focus. But like I said, in the STEM disciplines, we build on all kinds of things. Things build up pretty quick. Okay? So that's kind of important. Let's talk about the last piece that I had you read, relationships in science. Tell me something about that.
So this isn't as much about the actual research as it is about the people that you're doing the research with.
That's right. So there is this myth that a lot of people have, probably not you, maybe some of you, that scientists are people in lab coats at a bench all by themselves, doing important work, solving world's problems, right? That's kind of the stereotypical mad scientist kind of scenario that a lot of people think of, right? Could be nothing further from the truth. Yes, we wear lab coats. Yes, we sit at a bench sometimes. Yes, we do work at a bench. Yes, some folks' hair is a little crazy and they look like a mad scientist, but the relationships that we build today are much, much more important than any of that. We're in a time where whether you're a chemistry major, a biology major, a physics major, an engineering major, a polymer science major, you're going to do more in your jobs or your future careers than that. And those relationships will be very, very important for that. All disciplines these days truly are interdisciplinary. You can't be in a chemistry class without knowing something about mathematics and physics or biology. Nor can you be in a biology class without knowing a little chemistry, math, physics. Things are interconnected. The relationships that we build are going to be so important for you all moving forward. Now that article was about a faculty member moving from one area to another, right? But how could what that faculty member experienced be translated into what you all live as a college student?
Let's go from high school to college.
Pardon?
Let's go from high school to college, like how we develop relationships and support system and how it just changes and you have to develop that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like that individual made a physical move from one location to another, right? You all made a physical move from a high school environment to a college environment, right? How many of you reflect on the relationships that you built in high school and rely on them today? Yeah, pretty much everybody. I still think about the relationships I fostered in high school. Keep in touch with them on Facebook. We don't Snapchat or anything like that. We Facebook. We stay in touch. It becomes a support system. Kind of nice to know what people are doing. Can be a distraction, right? So I don't do it an awful lot, but I do it enough. What kind of relationships are you building now? Who are you building relationships with? What relationships are you building right now as a college student?
Professional ones, say like with your advisors and stuff.
Okay, you're starting to build more professional relationships, which probably wasn't the case when you were in high school. You may have built a few, but now you're in an environment where the professional relationship is becoming more and more important. So your advisors, your professors, your fellow students. Why is building these relationships important for your immediate goals now? Let's not think 10 years down the road. Let's think, just a few years down the road. Why are building these relationships important? Okay, at some point you're going to need to get into a laboratory, right? Do some research as a chemistry major. It's required of everybody. It's a lot easier to let somebody into my lab that I know a little something about, right? Somebody that I have already started to build a little bit of trust with. Somebody that I know may have a good work ethic, right? I don't want to bring somebody into my lab that I'm going to have to worry about all the time in terms of are they going to show up, are they going to, I don't want to have to deal with that, especially with my current job. Each and every one of you at some point in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, all three of those are going to need these things called letters of recommendation, as you all call them. Faculty refer to them as letters of evaluation. You're going to want to apply for a scholarship. You're going to want to apply for something for study abroad. You're going to want to apply to graduate school. You're going to want to apply to medical school. Imagine you're in my seat and somebody walks in who took my class and I never interacted with. What am I going to be able to say about that student? I might be able to say that. Right? But yeah, pretty much so what I'm going to be able to say is what's on your transcript. Do I need to repeat that? No. Is that what the group that you're asking me to write a letter for knows? Wants to know from me? No. They want to know what's not on the transcript, right? So how can I talk about things that aren't on the transcript if I don't know you a little bit? Can I do that? I really can't, unless I'm willing to lie, and I'm not willing to lie. Students will always come to me and they'll say, here's my resume in case you need something to write about. I have that happen all the time. And I just hand the resume back to them and I say, I don't write letters of recommendation based on your resume that you composed. I write my letters of evaluation based on how I know you. So yeah, I will talk about how you interacted in class. I will talk about how you came to my office hours. If you did research with me, I'll talk about your work ethic. I don't need to tell them that you're smart. They can look at your grades and figure that out. Right? It's those other things. So it's those relationships. Now, it's not going to matter for a class like this so much, right? Because medical school is not going to want a letter from me for this class. They're going to want a letter from a real rigorous academic class like organic chemistry or general chemistry, right? We know that students who interact with their faculty outside of class in a professional manner do better. There is more to class than 50 minutes or an hour or whatever the case may be, sitting in a seat in front with a professor in front. It's just the way it is. So relationship building is very, very important for you right now. And I highly encourage it. One of the things that I hope you're getting out of the class is through the activities assignments, you're going and you're building relationships with other entities on campus, be it the ACS student affiliates, be it folks at seminar, the study abroad group that you went and maybe talked to. You're starting to build those relationships. They're gonna stick with you. The things that you do outside of class actually are probably more important for you long term than the content things that we are teaching you, believe it or not. Those relationships that I built in college have come back to save me so many times. Been able to reach out to people who I knew able to get the help that I needed throughout my career for a variety of purposes. You can't do it on your own. That's the take-home message. You can't do it on your own. Well, I told you we were going to let go a little early today, but I want to talk about a couple of things first, and then we'll have our daily writing assignment, and then we'll let it go. So across the street in the Bobby Chang Technology Building, starting at 9, Career Services will be over there. I sent you all that information. You all can use Career Services as an activity, so it's an opportunity for you to get an activity knocked out. Doesn't have to be today. But you can go to Career Services, use Career Services as an activity. So I know there's a couple of you that have already finished all of your activities, but there are still some that need to be done. We're not to our due dates exactly yet for everything, so we still got time. But please know, we are running out of time for those, so don't put it off to the very end, because sometimes things get canceled. Another thing, you may have seen some flyers around. I will forward this to you on Canvas, but on November the 18th, there is this thing called the Rayburn Lecture that we have here every year at the University of Southern Mississippi. And this year, it's actually a USM alum who's coming to talk, who I believe had a physics degree here. But the topic is on DNA, so it's got a chemistry bend to it as well. I would like to encourage you all to use that as an activity. I plan to be at the Rayburn Lecture. I will let you know if things change. But you would be able to count that as an activity by bringing me your form after the lecture has concluded. So I will send out a message on Remind to tell people where after the lecture they can come find me. And as always, you need to make sure that you put a reflection of that lecture, and as with any activity, in your notebook. Okay. We have our CV assignment coming due here pretty soon. Our resume assignment, right? How's everybody feeling about that? Everybody get started a little bit, thinking about it at least? Your resume at this point is not going to be terribly long. And that's okay. It's a living document. It will grow. Your resume may well be longer than my resume was when I was sitting in your seat. Okay. So don't forget to include all of those types of things. At this point, it's okay to include things from high school, is what I'm saying. Okay. So that will be coming due soon. You want it to be polished. You want it to be submitted to me as if you were asking me for a job or a scholarship. So in other words, I want it to be your best work, not a draft. Okay? I want it to be something that you would be proud of.
And didn't you say we could take the draft to the Career Services and they'd like help us like?
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that I want to encourage about with, they have, as they said in the email that I forwarded to you, right, Tuesdays from 9 to 11 or something like that over in Bobby Chang Technology Building, they have kind of office hours. They've also got a place where you can sign up for an exact appointment. I think they take drop-ins, or you can sign up for an appointment. And again, if you want to take your CV over there or your resume and have them look it over, or if you want to brainstorm with them about things that you should include in your resume or CV, feel free to do so, and we'll count that as an activity. Right? I gave you some materials on Canvas about what should be in a CV, but nonetheless, the CV needs to be personal, right? I mean, yours isn't going to look exactly like mine with the same layout, but you need to have the same common elements, right? What must we have on a CV? What are some of the things you've got to have there? Pardon? Got to have your academic accomplishments, right? So your degrees, your diplomas, whatever the case may be. What else? Pardon?
Work experience.
Work experience, yeah. Positions you've held. Leadership experience is very important. Yes, ma'am.
Would you go up all the way to present day with your CV?
A CV, I tell faculty here that they're, and of course we have a software platform that helps us keep track of our CV, but it needs to be up to date to at least the month, because that information can be useful at any point. Leadership experience, very important.
Other than your college or your high school diploma, like, would you include high school accomplishments as well in that?
At this stage in the game, I would. Yeah, because right now, chances are you're going to use your CV for maybe a scholarship application, right? And they're going to want to know not only what you did in college, but what you did in high school at this point. Now, as you get older and your hair gets grayer, some of that stuff will fall off. It will become less important. But right now, for you all, that's very important. You know, if you won an award at your high school or whatever the case may be, those are very, very important accomplishments for you at the moment. But at some point, those things will start to fall off. There will be some that will continue to remain.
How far back, like, of high school should we go?
Well, that's up to you. But I would say I would go back as far as you have significant things to report on. So if as a freshman in high school, you got selected to go to the International Science and Engineering Fair where you placed, I'd put that on your resume or CV right now. That's pretty important and impressive, and something that might serve you well in any variety of things that you might apply for. If, however, you really didn't have many awards or activities as a freshman, there's really nothing to report. So I wouldn't go back that far. It needs to be a highlight of your accomplishments. So wherever far back you feel you have accomplishments that are worth telling your story, I would definitely go back that far. It's always easier to remove something if you need to than to add it later. But you always need to have your contact information, right? What kind of contact information do we need to have on there?
Our school email.
Your school email, definitely, right? We don't want that cutesy email that you put together on Yahoo back when you were in junior high or middle school, right? You want to have your USM email listed there because, again, it is a professional document. You're going to want to have a phone number, right? Phone number, I think, is kind of, you don't have to necessarily do that for me right now, just protect your phone number, but definitely your email. Your address, right? Are you going to use your home address or your school address?
What is your school address? I don't know.
Does it matter? What do you think?
Well, like, wouldn't it matter, like, if they know where you are?
Kind of does.
Like, they're not gonna hire you if you have an address from your hometown if they think you're gonna be there.
Okay. But I would also argue that you need to have an address that they know that they can reach you at, right? So your school address may change unless you've got, I don't know how that, I don't, my school address doesn't change very often, but it does change. So I would use your best address that they're going to be most likely to reach you at.
I have like my address, like my house address, and then also have like my school on there with that.
Wouldn't be anything wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. You think you need to list your GPA? Do you have a GPA yet? You really don't have a GPA yet, right? Or most of you don't have a college GPA. It's usually not important to list grades that you've made on a CV, in my opinion, because usually they're also going to ask you for a transcript. So there's really no need to do that. But you can list a variety of things.
Are we gonna put our transcript on our CV?
You are not. You are not going to provide me with a copy of your transcript. You are just going to provide me with a copy of your CV. Your CV should be at least 2 pages. Okay?
We're gonna put our graduation date on there.
Which, your high school graduation date?
No, like what about it really?
Well, that would be a good question for career services. I have the graduation dates for my college degrees, at least a year. But I don't think I would list anticipate. Well, you might list anticipated. That's a good question for career services. I really
I
don't.
put them on both on there.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, you can put on there your high school right now, and that's one thing that will fall off over time, and your graduation date. There's nothing wrong with that.
I feel like jobs like want to know when you're thinking
Yeah,
about
they probably do. But again, that's a good question for career services. I don't have a great answer for you. If you do put it, you need to at least put anticipated. Say, anticipated May 2020, 2023, right? So class of 23, you put things like that. Right. You're definitely going to want to indicate what your course of study is, right, at this point, because you don't have a degree. Put in there that you're studying chemistry, biochemistry, or whatever. Right. How about your minors? Definitely put your minors on there if you think they're going to be relevant to your goals. And at this point, you don't know, so I'd include it. Believe it or not, I'm not a huge minor fan in general, but minors quite frequently are points of discussion at an interview. Oh, you got a chemistry because you're going to be interviewing at a company and they're all chemists or scientists of some sort, but then they notice, oh, you minored in art. Well, that's cool. What'd you do? Right? That's something that they can interact with you that's kind of unique. Those types of things. All right. Next week, I will have a series lecture on research opportunities in the Department of Chemistry. So I'll put together some slides. I'm not going to put them on Canvas until after the fact. So they'll pretty much be what we're going to talk about next week. Should take about an hour to go through them, but I'm going to introduce you to a variety of research topics that are in our program, including mine. That will give you some idea of what some of the faculty are working on. I do not know what everybody's working on to a great level of detail, okay? So it's going to be a very high level, kind of inch deep kind of discussion, just to give you an idea of what some folks are doing in chemistry, what some folks are doing in biochemistry in terms of general topics. So that will be next week, and we'll go through that. There will be some things on campus, of course, for you to read before coming to class, as usual. But we're really to the point where we've only got a handful of classes remaining. November is here real soon, and so we will be wrapping the course up pretty quick. We have just finished our bonus points for coming and meeting with me at around midterm. We have one more of those opportunities. I'm going to start scheduling those for about the second week of November. The time frame for you to schedule those will be a lot shorter than the time frame for the midterm. I let that go on a little longer. So if you want those 20 bonus points for the second meeting, you'll need to get that scheduled sometime in the second week, maybe third week of November, and that will be about the window that we have. So I will get that announcement out to you on Canvas later this week. And I will send out a reminder by reminder. And then you all will need to schedule that time with me. Now, my Monday evenings are wide open. I got to be here till almost 10 o'clock at night because my wife teaches it. Carpool together. So I can either be watching Netflix or we can have some meetings. So it's a good time is what I'm saying. All right, so get out your note card. On one side, put your name and your ID number. And on the other side, write me a few sentences about how you intend to improve your focus for your final exam preparation. What techniques are you going to do to improve your focus for your final exam preparation.